It was another busy morning at Naval Base Westfield. The sound of boots echoed across the long metal hallways. Soldiers were rushing between offices, carrying reports and shouting quick orders. The air smelled of coffee, ink, and discipline. The usual day on base. No one expected that this ordinary morning was about to become a memory they would never forget. Through the glass doors of the main building, an old man slowly walked in. His clothes were simple. A faded red shirt, worn-out jeans, and boots that had seen better days. His gray hair was messy, and his face was lined with years of hard work and pain. He looked tired, but there was something different about his eyes. Calm, sharp, and full of stories untold. At first, no one noticed him. People passed by, too busy with their duties. A few soldiers looked up and frowned. "Who's that guy?" one whispered. Another chuckled, probably lost. "Maybe he's here for some charity work." The old man didn't react. He just kept walking, slowly but with purpose. Every step seemed heavy. Not from weakness, but from the weight of memories he carried. He stopped near the information desk. A young soldier looked up from his computer, confused. "Can I help you, sir?" The soldier asked, half polite, half annoyed. The old man nodded slightly. "I'm looking for someone," he said, his voice deep and calm. "Who?" Before he could answer, another officer nearby cut in. "Hey, old man, this area's restricted. You can't just walk in here." The young soldier tried to stop him, but the old man's expression didn't change. He looked around the office like he knew every corner, every photo frame, every sound. "Sir, I said this area is off limits," the officer repeated, louder this time. Still, no reaction. The old man's eyes paused on a wall covered with pictures. Pictures of naval heroes, men in uniform, medals shining proudly. His gaze stayed there for a moment, then he turned back toward the officer. "I've been here before," he said softly. The officer laughed, thinking he was joking. "Oh, really? Maybe for a tour?" "Sorry, old man. This isn't a museum." A few soldiers nearby laughed quietly. The old man didn't respond. He simply reached into his pocket and pulled out a small worn silver coin. It looked old, with a faded Navy emblem on it. He rubbed it between his fingers, lost in thought. No one noticed the tattoo on his wrist, a small anchor symbol, faded but clear enough to anyone who knew what it meant. Inside the main office, soldiers kept watching him. The laughter faded as they saw he wasn't leaving. Something about him felt different. The young soldier at the desk hesitated. "Sir, may I ask your name?" The old man looked at him, a calm, almost fatherly look. "You wouldn't remember it," he said. "It's been a long time." The soldier blinked, confused. Before he could say anything, the door to the commanding office opened. A tall lieutenant stepped out, angry. "What's the noise out here?" he demanded. His eyes landed on the old man. "Who let this civilian inside?" The young soldier saluted. "Sir, he says he's been here before." "Enough. Get him out of here." The lieutenant's voice was sharp. Two guards moved closer. The old man looked down, sighed, and murmured, "Still the same discipline." "That's good," the lieutenant frowned. "What did you say?" The old man didn't answer. Instead, he looked around the room once more. The soldiers, the computers, the walls decorated with flags and photographs. His gaze stopped on one particular frame. A photo of a Navy ship, the USS Harrison, for a brief second. His eyes softened. "Sir," the young soldier said again, a little uncertain now, "maybe we should ask who he is before—" But the lieutenant interrupted. "He's nobody. Look at him. Probably some old veteran trying to relive his past. Escort him out." The guard stepped forward. "Please," the old man said quietly. "I'll leave soon. I just needed to see this place. One last time." The soldier stopped for a moment. His voice had a strange power, gentle but commanding. It was the kind of voice that made people listen, even when they didn't know why. One of the guards hesitated. "Sir, have you served before?" The old man smiled faintly. "Once, long ago. In another lifetime." The lieutenant rolled his eyes. Enough with the drama. "Take him out." They grabbed his arm gently, but the old man didn't resist. As they led him toward the exit, the young soldier at the desk noticed something. When the old man's sleeve lifted, he saw 3 faint burn scars on his forearm and a small line of numbers and letters tattooed below. It wasn't random. It was a Navy unit code. The young soldier froze, realizing what he had just seen. "Wait," he whispered. "That code, that's a special operations mark." But before he could say anything, the old man was already near the door. He turned around one last time and looked at the room full of young soldiers. The same type of soldiers he once led into battle. His voice was calm but filled with hidden pain. "You wear the uniform with pride. Never forget what it costs." Then he stepped outside, disappearing into the hallway. Inside the office, silence filled the room. The laughter was gone. No one spoke for a moment. The young soldier looked down at his computer, still thinking about those numbers on the man's arm. He typed them into the base's archive system. And when the result appeared, his hands started shaking. The screen showed a record from 25 years ago. Commander William H. Cross, Navy Special Operations, declared MIA, missing in action. The young soldier's eyes widened. "Sir," he whispered to the lieutenant, "you need to see this." But before he could continue, the sound of boots echoed again down the hall. The room straightened instantly as someone called out, "Rear Admiral on deck!" Everyone snapped to attention. The door opened, and a high-ranking Rear Admiral entered, wearing a crisp white uniform covered in medals. His expression was serious, until his eyes fell on the old man standing just outside the door. He froze. For a moment, he didn't move. Then, without hesitation, the Admiral stepped forward, raised his hand to his forehead, and gave the sharpest salute anyone in that room had ever seen. Every soldier stared in shock. The old man slowly turned his head, eyes meeting the Admiral's. A long pause. The Admiral's voice broke the silence, deep, emotional, and full of respect. "Welcome back, Captain." And at that moment everyone realized the man they had ignored was not just an old veteran. He was a forgotten hero who once saved their very Navy. The room was frozen. Every soldier stood stiff, still in disbelief at the scene unfolding before them. The old man, once treated as a stranger, now faced a Rear Admiral who saluted him with full honor. Whispers began to spread across the room like wildfire. "Captain? Did he say captain? That old man? How is that possible?" The young soldier who searched his record looked terrified. Terrified because he realized the truth long before anyone else. A legend was standing in front of them. The lieutenant who had ordered the old man out stood quietly now, his face pale. He wanted to speak, but his words were trapped somewhere between fear and shame. The Admiral lowered his hand slowly and stepped closer. There was respect in his eyes, but also sadness. "Captain William Cross," he said softly, "we thought we lost you. Forever." The old man, Captain Cross, didn't smile. He simply nodded with a quiet strength. "I was lost," he replied, "but not in the way you think." The soldiers didn't understand. Every word felt like a puzzle piece to a story they desperately wanted to know. The Admiral noticed the uncomfortable silence and turned toward the staff. His voice suddenly became sharp and commanding. "Who authorized disrespect toward this man?" No one answered. Every soldier kept their head down. The lieutenant looked like he wanted to disappear fully into his uniform. Captain Cross raised a hand calmly. "It's fine," he said. "They didn't know." But the Admiral shook his head firmly. "That is still no excuse. A soldier should always show respect, no matter the appearance." The lieutenant finally forced himself to speak. "Sir, I didn't know who he was. He looked like—" The Admiral cut him off immediately. "He looked like a veteran who has given everything. That alone deserves more respect than any rank on this base." The lieutenant lowered his head, ashamed. Captain Cross looked around again. His eyes didn't hold anger, only memories. Broken memories. Memories he never wanted to face again. The Admiral placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "We owe you an apology. All of us." A few soldiers stepped forward, standing straight, offering salutes. But Captain Cross shook his head. "I didn't come for apologies," he said. "I came because I have something to return." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small Navy badge, scratched and worn. "This belongs to the Navy," he said slowly. "Not to me." The Admiral stared at the badge, a symbol given only to the most elite. "This badge," he whispered, "was given to you for Operation Iron Shield. You saved your entire team?" Captain Cross's eyes darkened. "No, not the entire team." He closed his fist around the badge. His knuckles turned white. The Admiral, seeing the pain returning, suggested they move to a private room. "Captain, please, let's talk inside." Captain Cross nodded slightly. The Admiral walked beside him, guiding him to the commander's meeting room. Soldiers parted like a wave as he walked through, their eyes full of shame and disbelief. Before stepping inside, Captain Cross turned to the young soldier, the only one who looked at him with curiosity and not disrespect. "What's your name, son?" he asked. The young soldier straightened up quickly. "Private Daniel Hayes, sir." Captain Cross smiled softly, the first real smile anyone had seen. "Keep that respect in your heart, Private Hayes. It will take you far. Keep that respect in your heart, Private Hayes. It will take you far." Private Hayes felt proud, but also guilty for not defending the old man earlier. The moment burned into his memory. Inside the room, the Admiral removed his cap and sat. He looked at Captain Cross like he was staring at a ghost. There were rumors, stories, but no confirmation. We searched for years. Captain Cross stayed silent. What happened out there? The Admiral asked gently. The old man looked up, his tired eyes shining with grief. I lost men, brave men. They trusted me, and I failed them. The Admiral shook his head firmly. No. Reports showed you risked your own life to save everyone. You went back even after the mission failed. Captain Cross's voice grew colder. And still, I couldn't save them all. He leaned back in his chair, feeling the weight of decades pressing down on him. When I came home, everything felt wrong. The world moved on, but I was stuck. He looked at his trembling hands. People saw me as a burden, a broken man. It became easier to disappear. Outside the room, soldiers gathered quietly. They pressed their ears against the wall, trying to hear more of the story. Private Hayes clenched his fists, angry at himself. He should have been honored, not pushed away, he whispered. The lieutenant listened too, feeling the sting of guilt in every word Captain Cross spoke. Back inside, the Admiral leaned forward. You were a hero then. You still are. Captain Cross shook his head. Heroes don't walk away. And I did, the Admiral's voice softened. You came back. That means something. A silence followed. A heavy silence full of regret and unspoken memories. Then Captain Cross looked up, eyes sharp again. I want to give you something more than that badge. He opened a small leather pouch. Inside was a USB drive, old but safe. What's that? The Admiral asked. Captain Cross took a deep breath. I kept records, hidden files, about what really happened. And a name. The Admiral frowned. A name? Captain Cross nodded. The man who betrayed us. The reason my team died. The Admiral's eyes widened. You know who betrayed Operation Iron Shield? Captain Cross nodded again. He's still out there, living free, wearing a uniform he doesn't deserve. His voice turned cold. Deadly cold. I came here to finish what I started. The Admiral stood slowly, processing everything. If what you're saying is true, this could change everything. Captain Cross stared at him with unwavering resolve. I'm done being forgotten. It's time the truth comes out. Outside, in the hallway, Private Hayes whispered with excitement and concern. This story isn't over. And he was right. This was only the beginning. Because for the first time in decades, Captain William Cross had a mission again. The Rear Admiral held the USB drive tightly in his hand, staring at Captain Cross as if trying to read every hidden truth from his eyes. The old hero remained calm, but there was a sharp fire in his look, something that had been asleep for years, now awake again. Outside the room, whispers continued. Soldiers tried not to talk loudly, yet excitement buzzed like electricity in the air. News traveled fast. A forgotten Navy captain had returned. Some soldiers looked scared because they knew they had treated him wrongly. Others were filled with curiosity. But Private Hayes, he felt something deeper. Respect, admiration, and a burning desire to know more. Inside the briefing room, the Admiral finally spoke again. Captain Cross, if someone betrayed your team, we must act quickly. Who is this person? Captain Cross didn't answer immediately. Instead, he gazed at the Navy flag on the wall, fingers tapping slowly on the table. Before I give a name, he said, I need to know I can trust you. The Admiral nodded. You have my word. But Captain Cross shook his head slightly. Your word is good, but promises are paper. Trust is earned. The Admiral understood. He sighed, leaning back. Things have changed since you were last here, he said. Not everyone in uniform is loyal anymore. Captain Cross's eyes narrowed. That's what I'm afraid of. Then a sudden alarm sounded through the entire base. A loud beeping echo filled the corridors. Beep! 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 The lights flickered for a second. Doors locked automatically. Soldiers ran toward their positions. The calm morning had turned into chaos in seconds. What's happening? Private Hayes asked, confused. A senior officer shouted, Unauthorized aircraft detected. Heading toward the base. The Admiral immediately stood up. Are we under attack? The lieutenant, now sweating with fear, responded. We're checking, sir. Could be a drone. Could be surveillance. Could be... Before he could finish, the radio crackled with static. Then a panicked voice came through. Sir! Unknown helicopter approaching. No ID, no clearance. The Admiral rushed out of the room, Captain Cross following behind him. Slow at first, then faster as adrenaline woke up the soldier inside him. Private Hayes joined them. Sir, should we move Captain Cross to a protected area? But Captain Cross stopped him. If danger is coming... It's coming for me. Hayes swallowed hard, unsure what that meant. They reached the command center. Huge screens showed a black helicopter cutting through the sky like a silent predator. It had no markings, no identification lights. Its rotors sliced the air with a loud whoop whoop whoop. Soldiers aimed weapons at the sky. Trucks moved to block the landing zone. The Admiral shouted, Identify yourself! You are entering a restricted military zone. No response. The helicopter got closer and closer until it hovered right above the base's main courtyard, kicking dust everywhere. Private Hayes shielded his eyes. Why would someone fly here like that? Captain Cross stared without blinking. Because someone wants to send a message. The helicopter landed hard, metal shaking, blades slowing. A tense silence fell. All weapons locked on the doors of the helicopter. Everyone held their breath. Then, the doors slowly opened. Black Boots stepped out. Then another. And another, a squad of armed men in tactical gear exited the aircraft. No uniforms, no insignia. Their faces hidden behind dark visors. Who are they? Hayes whispered nervously. Captain Cross's voice was low and filled with recognition. Their ghost unit, a private military group. Private Hayes looked at him, shocked. You know them? Cross nodded once. They were once part of us, until they betrayed the Navy. The Admiral stepped forward, shouting with authority. This is U.S. territory! You are trespassing. State your business. For a moment the strangers said nothing. Then one of them stepped forward slowly. A tall man, broad shoulders, helmet with a dark visor. But something about the way he walked made Captain Cross tense up. Private Hayes noticed. Sir, do you know him? Cross clenched his jaw. Commander Drake, Hayes frowned. Is he the one who... Yes, Captain Cross said. The traitor! Hayes' heart began pounding. The man responsible for the captain's pain had come here. Today, Commander Drake stopped only 20 feet away. He slowly lifted his visor. A cold, chilling smile spread across his face. Well, if it isn't Captain Ghost himself, the Admiral glared. You have no right to be here, Drake laughed. Oh, Admiral, rights are for the weak. His eyes shifted to Captain Cross. I heard you crawled out from your little hole. Brave of you to show your face after what you did. Captain Cross stepped forward. What I did? You are the one who left my men to die. Drake shrugged. They were slowing the mission down. I made a choice. You made a betrayal. Captain Cross growled. You killed them. For money, Drake smirked, unfazed. War is a business. You should have learned that. Soldiers tightened their grips on rifles. One wrong move, and gunfire would start. The Admiral warned, Commander Drake, leave now, or we will take action. Drake smiled wider. Oh, Admiral, you have no idea how late you are. He lifted his hand, giving a silent signal. Suddenly, drones flew out from the helicopter and spread across the base like black insects. Soldiers panicked, aiming everywhere. Alarms increased. Drake leaned close to Captain Cross, whispering, You should have stayed forgotten. Captain Cross stared right into his eyes. I'm not done yet. Drake chuckled. Then you better hurry, Captain, because this base is about to burn. He stepped back. His squad raised weapons. The Admiral shouted, Stand down! No one was listening anymore. The air felt like it could explode any second. One spark, one twitch, and war would start in the middle of the base. Then Drake pointed at Captain Cross. If anyone fires, he dies first. Captain Cross didn't flinch. He looked at Private Hayes. Remember what I told you. Respect has a cost. Hayes swallowed hard, his heart racing. What do we do, sir? Captain Cross whispered back. We fight smart. The Admiral lifted his hand slightly, ready to give the order. Every gun was raised, every soldier's finger on the trigger, every breath held. Then, a flashbang dropped from the helicopter door. Boom! A blinding white light exploded. Smoke filled the air. Soldiers screamed. Gunfire erupted. Chaos. Complete chaos. And in the darkness of smoke, Captain Cross disappeared. Smoke covered the courtyard like a dark fog, swallowing every shape and every sound. Gunshots echoed and ricocheted off the concrete walls. Soldiers were coughing, shouting, trying to find a target they couldn't see. Private Hayes stumbled to his knees, blinking through tears as the flashbang's afterglow burned in his eyes. His ears rang like a siren. He reached around blindly, searching for his rifle. Captain Cross! Captain, where are you? He shouted, voice cracking. No answer. The rear admiral grabbed Hayes' shoulder, helping him stand. Stay behind me, Private. But Hayes shook his head. No, sir. Captain Cross is still out there. Before the admiral could respond, figures moved inside the smoke. Fast, silent silhouettes. The ghost unit. Silent silhouettes. The ghost unit. They weren't retreating. They were hunting. Hayes finally spotted a shape. An older man limping toward the far gate. Captain! Hayes yelled again. But the captain didn't look back. He kept moving deeper into the smoke, as if he had somewhere specific he needed to be. The admiral realized what was happening. He's going after Drake. Hayes' heart dropped. That's suicide! We have to help him! But before they could move, a bullet cracked past their heads. The admiral pushed Hayes behind a barrier. Hold your position. We can't run blind into enemy fire. Hayes felt trapped, his body behind cover, but his heart running toward Captain Cross. Meanwhile, Captain Cross slipped into the shadows near the supply hangar. His breathing was heavy but controlled. The chaos around him didn't scare him. No, this was where he had lived most of his life. War, confusion, decisions. He ducked behind a truck just as two ghost soldiers passed by. He waited, perfectly silent, then moved again, keeping low. His mind focused on only one name: Drake, the traitor, the man who destroyed his team, the man who stole his honor. Captain Cross whispered to himself, "No more running." Back at the battlefield, soldiers were regaining order. The smoke began to clear. The ghost unit was falling back toward the helicopter, but they weren't leaving empty-handed. They were searching for Captain Cross. Private Hayes watched in panic as one of the masked men gestured toward the hangar. "They found him. Sir, they found him." The Admiral radioed back up instantly. "All units, protect Captain Cross. Move to Hangar 3. Hayes didn't wait. He sprinted ahead, ignoring every order, his boots pounding the ground. He couldn't lose the man who inspired him. The man everyone should have respected from the start. Inside the hangar, Drake stood with arms crossed, waiting. "You're slower than you used to be, William." Captain Cross stepped into the dim light, eyes burning with old rage. "And you're just as rotten." Drake chuckled, circling him like a predator. "You were a legend once. Now look at you. Weak, alone." Cross lifted his chin. "A legend doesn't fade. He rises when he is needed most." Drake drew a pistol. "We'll see." A click echoed, one bullet ready to fire. Captain Cross didn't flinch. For a moment, time froze. Hayes shouted from outside, "Captain, no!" Soldiers rushed closer, boots hammering the ground. The Admiral yelled, "Drop the weapon!" But Drake smiled and pulled the trigger. Bang! The screen of silence shattered. Hayes screamed. Soldiers launched forward. The Admiral drew his sidearm. The smoke cleared, and Captain Cross fell to his knees. His hand pressed on his chest, blood slowly spreading beneath his fingers. He looked up, eyes fierce but fading. With his last strong breath, he said, "A hero never dies forgotten." Then his body collapsed to the ground as the ghost unit's helicopter engines roared to escape. Hayes cried out, running to the captain's side. "Stay with me, please. Don't go!" Captain Cross's hand twitched, reaching toward Hayes. But then it went still. The Admiral's voice cracked as he whispered, "We failed him. Again." The helicopter lifted, Drake staring down with a cold grin. The battle wasn't over. But for now, the base was left in heartbreak. The end.